A wedding for love? Or for conscience? You've lost your mind? Lara screamed into the phone, pacing her tiny studio apartment while struggling to zip up her dress. He's 80. 80 years old. He's kind, Lara, her friend Inga replied calmly. He just wants his final months to not be lonely. It's not love, I feel something. Feel something. Lara nearly choked with indignation. And what about sex, Inga? Or do you think old men don't want that anymore? Inga laughed, calmly, as if they were discussing the weather. You'd be surprised, but desires don't vanish with age. He looks at me like no one ever has. Not like a doll, not like a body, but like a gift. Inga, a 22-year-old art school graduate, hadn't come to Dubai in search of a rich husband. Though that's what everyone back in her hometown assumed. She dreamed of opening a gallery, painting, inspiring others, and being free. And at first, it seemed like she just might pull it off, until the rent bill arrived. He was sitting in an armchair in a luxury hotel, surrounded by security, when Inga saw him for the first time. A pristine white kaftan, perfectly groomed beard, warm eyes, and a smile more alive than any of her peers. His name was Khalid. Would you like some tea? He asked in flawless English. She sat down beside him simply, because she had nowhere else to go. Are you an artist? He asked, nodding toward her sketchbook. Almost, she smiled. More of a dreamer. I'm a dreamer too, he said. Just with less time left to dream. Over 3 weeks, she learned he hadn't had a wife in 10 years. His children lived in London and visited once a year, bringing gifts but not warmth. He laughed when telling stories about sneaking away from his guards to eat shawarma on the street, and grew quiet when speaking of his first love. Inga didn't know what she was feeling. It wasn't movie-style love. It was tenderness, respect, the desire to give him something real. She didn't want to save him from loneliness. She wanted someone to see in her more than just a young beauty. A woman capable of loving differently. One evening in his suite, he poured her sweet tea and sat beside her. His fingers were warm, wrinkled but gentle. He touched her cheek, and in his eyes there was no lust, only gratitude. Then he whispered, "Marry me. Not because I'm wealthy. Because you've given me something I haven't had in years, life." The wedding was modest, despite his status. Inga didn't want gold, diamonds, or limousines. She just wanted him to be happy. And he was. The wedding night was nothing like she feared. He didn't rush. Didn't demand. He just held her. And they fell asleep holding hands like children, who needed no words. A week later. Inga, you won't believe this. Lara shouted on the phone. Is he running marathons now? Inga laughed. Truly, Khalid was suddenly full of energy. Morning jogs, replanting flowers on the terrace, even singing in the shower. One day, when she returned from the gallery, he was waiting with rose petals scattered all over the bedroom. I thought it was over for me, he whispered, trailing his hand along her waist. But you proved life can begin at any age. Drama followed, of course. His sons flew in the moment they learned their father had married a gold digger. You're disgracing our family, the eldest shouted. I married because I wanted to be happy. Is that a crime? She wants your money. Inga stood silently nearby. Then, she calmly removed her ring and placed it on the table. I'm not taking anything. I just love him. After a pause, the youngest son approached and said, I'm sorry. We've forgotten what sincerity looks like. 8 months later, Khalid passed away. Peacefully. In his sleep. Holding her hand. On his nightstand lay the portrait she'd drawn of him the day they met. At the funeral, Inga wore white. Not because it was a wedding, but because he had once said, white isn't about death. It's about purity. About you. Now she has opened her gallery. The first exhibition was dedicated to him. In the corner, a portrait of him smiling, like that day on the terrace when he first asked, could you do it? Could you love, despite age, despite reason? She did.